you can get treatment earlier. Your treatments are most likely going to be more productive, more efficient, because earlier diagnosis leads to a much better prognosis. I'll begin with a story. I knew a lady who passed away after a terrible diagnosis. So if anybody talks about turning your negative diagnosis or a diagnosis into an advantage, it is not something that is easy to say, because usually it's not fun to be diagnosed with any strange, any deadly disease or whatsoever. But today we are talking about how to turn your negative diagnosis into your advantage. All right, so let's get to it. What if this lady, upon diagnosis, had enough time to deal with the disease? So that is just a caveat right there. So though it is not something that you want to have, if you have a diagnosis of any kind of disease, whether it's diabetes, whether it is cancers, whether it is ulcers, whether it is hypertension, whatever disease it may be, infections, HIV, whatever you can think about, when you get the diagnosis, even though it may sound as bad as it is, that is a diagnosis that you did not expect, there's also a way of turning that around into an advantage, all right? Because some people don't even get a diagnosis, they just pass away. They don't see anything, they don't hear about anything that's going on, and boom, they just die. And it leaves scientists and doctors to sort of go through a maze of finding out what happened to those people. So if you are alive, if you have strength, and if you get diagnosed with a disease, you have an advantage over such a person. So some of the negatives, not to be oblivious to the fact, there are some of the negatives to your diagnosis, one of which is fear. If you get diagnosed with a disease, you may be in fear, especially if it's one of those deadly diseases that you have heard about, right? So that is one. Also, you may be in despair. You may have hopelessness because you feel like this disease is going to end your life, or this disease is going to change your lifestyle. It's going to make you weak. It's going to make you sick. It's going to definitely throw out your options for living a better life, right? So negative diagnosis or diagnosis of any kind of disease can lead to despair. The other thing is diagnosis can also lead to loss of income, right? If you are doing well and all of a sudden you are hit with a diagnosis of some kind of a disease, you may end up spending more time in the doctor's offices, more time out of work, trying to treat the disease. So treatment will cost you also money. So time will cost you because you won't have enough time to do the things that will earn you money, right? And then apart from losing time to the diagnosis, you may also have loss of income because you don't have the money that you would have spent, that you would spend on treating yourself, or the money that you need to spend in co-pays and stuff like that. So definitely diagnosis leads to what? Loss of income. The other thing that we also know is that a diagnosis can bring a definite change in your lifestyle. For example, say you get a disease like diabetes. Your lifestyle may have to change. You may have to stop eating out so much. You may have to or change the way you eat. So you may not enjoy your foods that you usually enjoyed before, right? Because as part of your diagnosis, you've been told that you got to change your lifestyle. And then also, apart from that, you may have to include exercises in your daily routine. That is hard. Waking up early to run, waking up early to do stuff just to beat that diagnosis. So all those things are things that will change your lifestyle. And if we talk about even deadlier diseases or diseases that actually cause more harm, that are more, that have, more serious prognosis, cancers, heart attacks, stuff like that. Those are even more serious stuff that when they hit you, you may actually have a greater change in your lifestyle that may turn your whole life upside down, because you may have to stop working, go through treatments like chemo, radiation, surgery, and all those things. All those will definitely change your lifestyle. So diagnosis, I'm not being blind to the fact that diagnosis of any kind of disease, whether it is a chronic disease, whether it's a serious deadly disease, or whatever kind of disease, can lead to a negative impact on your body, on your lifestyle, on your income, on your hopes for life, on the way you live, in fact, on your quality of life as a whole. But then, what if there is a way to turn that around into an advantage? There's always a positive in a negative situation, and that's what we are about on Dayspring Life and Health Channel. We want to point out to you where you can make right the wrongs in your life, whether it's your health or whatever. So what if you can use this diagnosis to your advantage? You get diagnosed early, and then because you get diagnosed early, as we know in several cancers, diagnosis and prognosis go with the stage of discovery, or when you were diagnosed. If you get diagnosed earlier, your chances of survival are higher. In fact, your chances of beating diseases are higher when you're diagnosed early. Let's talk about diabetes. In the same way, if your doctor tells you that you are pre-diabetic, it is a better chance for you to reverse your condition, so you don't even get diabetes at all. So the earlier your diagnosis, the better. All right. So if you have been diagnosed with something, take it as a positive. Well, since you have been diagnosed, you can do something about it. You can definitely hit it hard, attack it with all the treatments that you can get to ensure that you get your life back, or even if not your whole health back, at least to have a better life after the diagnosis. So diagnosis can be turned into a positive if you hit it hard, if you get it early, if you get your diagnosis early, and then also apart from that, getting an attitude of beating it. You can have a better quality of life if you have a diagnosis, because if you know you have a disease, you can plan out your life in such a way that you can live your life and enjoy it the way you want it. You can get treatment earlier. Your treatments are most likely going to be more productive, more efficient, because earlier diagnosis leads to a much better prognosis. So getting diagnosed is not the end of life. It is a way to beat whatever challenge is in your life. All right. So the earlier diagnosis will help you. And not only that, as we alluded to, your quality of life can be better because you can plan your life in such a way that you still enjoy your life. So those are two advantages. And even if it's not early, because you have found out, you can deal with it. Now, the lady in the story that I began with had no clue they had a disease going on. So the moment they found out that they were sick or they had that disease, it was the end of life. So basically, getting diagnosed is not the end of it. You just have to make sure that you deal with it and you get ahead of the game by your treatments and stuff like that, making sure you prolong your life thereby. So turn that diagnosis into a positive. Do not give up because you've been told that you have this disease or that disease. The question you have to ask yourself: what can I do to beat it? What can I do to prolong my life? What can I do to live a better life? What can I do to improve my quality of life? The other thing is that because you have the diagnosis, you can halt the progression. I've used examples of cancers as one, but even other chronic diseases like heart disease, heart failure, or other diseases that you can think about. If you found out that you have that disease earlier in life, you can halt the progression. You can slow the progression through treatments and through your lifestyle change here and there. And the other one is you can plan and have a better financial situation, because now that you have awareness of what is going on in you, you are doing your treatments. You can plan, where to get your insurance from, which places you can actually receive treatments and stuff like that, and what kind of lifestyle you should live, and eventually saving you money because now you are aware of what you're dealing with. If you had no clue and stuff is going on in you, only to find out at a late stage, that would be an even greater disadvantage, right? So turn that diagnosis into an advantage. Say that, tell yourself, I'm gonna beat this, I'm gonna fight this, I'm gonna do what I can in my capacity to beat it, because what? I have found out. So finding out or being diagnosed is not the end of all things. It is a means to achieving healing. It's a means to achieving greater financial progress. It is a means to plan your life. It is a means to have a better quality of life. It is a means to change your lifestyle so that you live a better, longer life. Beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Thanks for watching.